guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is a guy, he's 52 years old, and he's very soon to be divorced from wife number 3. Yes, you've heard that right, wife number 3. And he's going to share his story about the things he's obviously learned along the way and the mistakes he's made. And you're going to see, guys, when wife number 3 comes along, he was at the point he was never going to get married again. After wife number 2, hooking up, dating, enjoying the single life, and then he met Tammy. And she put on the best bait and switch cover act of all time. They got married, and then Medusa was born, or Medusa was released. And if you don't know who Medusa is, Google it and come back to the video. And his life was a living hell. And I'm going to go over here, guys, to show you that number one, if it doesn't work out the first marriage, it's likely not going to work out the second and third. And how you shouldn't be doing that, of course, and how the gals can really hide who they are. You need to spend years getting to know them. I'm not going to say what it is, but when you find out the length of time he had between when he met the gal that he would marry and then marry her, it's just going to make you want to pull your hair out. And how, guys, you don't need to be married to define who you are as a man and all that. And a lot of guys sadly do. And if you don't learn, then you're going to suffer on emotionally, mentally, and certainly financially if you don't. And this guy now is almost divorced and on his clean slate again, if you will, and he claims he's learned a lot, but I'm sharing his story to share his mistakes to help you guys not make them. Before I get on to the actual story here, I got a quick email from a guy, he's 54, and he writes in on his experience about female attorneys. Often I recommend getting a female attorney because they can fight fire with fire and they're sharks. And this one backs it up completely. He says, Hi SSM. I've been following you for a couple years now, starting during COVID. And I remember you did a couple of videos from your home and without sunglasses. Keep the shades on, looks better. Well, I did more than a couple of videos in my home at the time. And hey, the shades are the trademark. The shades are always going to be here. You made comments about having a woman lawyer and I wanted to give an insight on that. About 16 years ago, a friend of mine was getting divorced. His ex-wife was a Sith Lord and wanted everything. She fought for everything and wouldn't stop until she got it. His divorce was going on for 2 years because of the fighting. 2 long, miserable years, huh? My friend was drained both emotionally and financially until a coworker, a woman, said he should use her brother's lawyer because she did right by him. My friend set up a meeting, and this is what happened. She told him that the qualities that make men a good husband and partner are their weakness in divorce. Most men see themselves as providers, protectors for their families. They cannot see themselves beating up a woman, and especially if they have kids, they cannot beat up or demean their mother. She told them, for centuries, women have understood the man as the hunter. They develop physical skills and rational thinking. Women, to survive, learn to be manipulative, conniving, and use their bodies and emotions to get what they want. Pretty much sums it up, and I don't think this goes back centuries. I think this goes back to the fucking cave. They have no issues using the kids against them or saying how unfair men are and how they can beat up on a gal to get what they want. Due to this, men have spent more money on the 8 square inches between their legs than they have on real estate or wars. She told him that she would take his case on the condition that he pay her fees and then gets out of her way. He thought she was condescending and talking to him as a child, but since he went through 2 male lawyers and is still fighting what did he have to lose? A couple weeks later, he realized he made the right choice when his then wife called him to cry that his lawyer was being a bitch, and how could he do that to her? Hang on here. This is the same wife for 2 years has made his life miserable, and probably miserable before that, was trying to take him to the cleaners. This guy gets a female attorney, and Jaws is unleashed, and now she's crying to him, using manipulations and all like what she mentioned, right? Within 6 months, he was divorced with the best possible outcome. No alimony. Assets split 50-50, and he just had to pay child support. No way around that one. What other lawyers couldn't do in 2 years, she accomplished in 6 months. He now recommends her to all his male friends about getting divorced. What you and Al Bundy say is true. Women understand women, and they hate each other. Well, shout out to the godfather, the grandfather, whatever you want to call him, Al Bundy. He's a fictional character, but he's all our mentor and spiritual guide. Hail Al. Yeah, there you go. Another perfect example. You guys getting divorced? Find a female attorney. I do have one disagreement with your content, though. We are not now in Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. We've been so for decades. I'm 54 years old and went to college in upstate New York over 30 years ago. Back then, McDonald's had an ad or slogan, over a billion served. There were 6 girls in a sorority whose motto was, "We are going to give McDonald's a run for their money." These were Hall of Fame caliber carousel riders, but since no social media back then, their college infamy is unknown to their husbands. I see them on Facebook playing Happy Homemaker, and their husbands have no idea that Arlington Cemetery would need an expansion to hold their body count. Keep up the good work for all the men, young and old, out there. That's good, bro. And I'm not surprised what you're talking about these gals, because guess what? People don't change. Men are men, women are women all around the world. Doesn't make a difference where you are, or it was 30 or 40 years ago. Same fucking thing. And, of course, your little thing about the female attorney. Okay, on to the main event. This guy says, SSM, I just found your YouTube channel and love it. The stories you share are amazing and very helpful to me and keep things perspective as I transition to being a single again by choice. I'm going through my 3rd divorce, my choice, and filing for divorce. Yeah, I can feel your smacks now, well earned and deserved. Yeah, smack. 3rd divorce? Bro, I ain't gotten to your story yet, and you are banned from ever getting married again. In fact, you're fucking banned from relationships for a very long time while you're figuring things out. 3 divorces. I get once, we can all make mistakes. But 3? Anyway, a brief history of my trips around the block of marriage. When I was 25, I married a woman after 9 months. Smack! Please tell me she was like the hottest chick you'd ever seen, because there's no other reason. She immediately started running around, and long story short, we split and divorced. I got rid of her quick. Second time around the block, my kid's mom and I dated for 2 years and then married. Smack! Okay, you were a little smarter this time. You waited 2 years instead of 9 months. Bro, do you have to be married? Like, is it your religion, your culture? To feel as a man, you have to have a wife? I mean, seriously, what gives with this shit? After 8 years of marital conflict, no sex, and being miserable, I had an affair and left the marriage. Smack! Should have just ended it with her having the affair. Because now you gave her ammo to use against you and have the kids, and you get the point. Well, you'd think at this point he'd learn not to get married again. Wrong. He says, yeah, I was absolutely wrong for what I did and wish I would have not ended things the way I did. Now we still would have divorced at some point. I was just wrong for ending things like I did. We divorced, and I have always been actively involved in my kids' lives. For the next 6 years, I dated many women, but really it was just tapping women one after the other. I literally had a 90-day rule with myself where, after 90 days with a woman, I would dump whoever I was with, as I was not interested in getting tied down to any woman. Well, you should have kept it that way. Enter my current wife, we will call her Tammy. Yeah, that's a trashy name. I met Tammy and we dated for 2 years before we got married. Smack, smack, smack. Couldn't have been 4 years this time around? Did you not suffer enough before? You gotta do this a 3rd time? Bro, I don't feel bad. Whatever happens with Tammy, I don't feel bad for you because you brought all this shit on by yourself by being a bonehead getting married a 3rd time. God's sakes. After this point, I never allowed any woman to meet my kids. After about 6 to 8 months, we introduced our children into the relationship. She has 2 children, I have 2 children. Oh joy, single MOM, what could go wrong? All of which are grown now. The children meshed well, and it seemed our relationship was developing quite well. I decided that this was the woman to keep, and it would be a good idea to get married again. Smack! You should have spent 5 years, 6 years really getting to know all the ins and outs. She could put on an act for 2 years. And watch this. I loved her and so did my kids. Everything seemed to be falling into place. I also felt I could continue tapping women indefinitely. Smack! Oh, I also felt I couldn't continue tapping women indefinitely. Well, you deserve a smack for that too. I thought you were saying you're going to marry her and bang other chicks on the side. That's not going to go well. We married in November of 2016, and literally all hell broke loose. Our first marriage was horrendous. Our first year marriage was horrendous. We literally had a major blowout once a week. It was bad. I was dumbfounded who the hell this woman was. Our 2-year court was absolutely wonderful. Her emotional baggage she had hid for the 2 years we dated exploded out immediately after we married. Tammy got on antidepressants, and after our first year marriage, things settled down some. So she put on a big act for 2 years until you would marry her again. She obviously knows you have a history of getting married, right? And now she gets to take advantage of your resources and all that. This is why she's not going to be able to hide too well if it was for 5 years. For the next 6 years of our marriage, at least 65 to 70% of our time together was bad. I even suggested 2 or 3 times that we should do a do-it-yourself divorce and simply go our separate ways. We had no children together, and we could simply move on and find our own peace and happiness. We simply were not compatible. She refused every time. Well, of course she did. If she was benefiting from this, why would she, give up the situation? You need to get an attorney and force this through. You are experienced with divorce at this point. Fast forward to August 2022. Tammy strolled into our bedroom on a Thursday morning and announced she was leaving me that weekend. She had rented, financed by her brother and friend, a house about 30 minutes away. She said she loved me and didn't want a divorce, but wanted to work on our marriage apart from each other. How the hell are you going to fix a bad situation when you're apart? Does that make any sense? By Sunday afternoon, she moved out of our house, taking 95% of the furniture and etc. Why did you allow her to take 95% of the furniture? What, did you get the fucking stool to sit on while you watch TV, if you had a TV left? Mr. Nice Guy. I was heartbroken and shell-shocked. How could you be shell-shocked? Your marriage was miserable. You should have been jumping for joy. I had to scramble to get roommates to help make ends meet. Incidentally, I lost my full-time job just 2 weeks before that she walked out of me and was only working part-time job. Imagine that. She was sticking around until you lost your job, and you couldn't provide with her the lifestyle she was used to. Then she bailed, probably found another sucker, and probably figured, okay, I'll get a full-time job sooner or later, then I'll come back. Over the next 6 months, we tried to reconcile, mainly me doing all the work. Of course it was you begging and pleading to get her back. Why? But I decided I was done in April 2023. I was filing for divorce as soon as my state would allow, which is April 2024. Aha, it's coming up soon. The reason I decided I was done with our marriage was we had an argument about me paying child support. You didn't have kids together. Why are you paying child support unless it's for her kids? Our financials and everything were completely separate since August 2022, and she was struggling month to month to pay her bills. Debt collectors were calling, and she was even served papers from one debt collector. Shocker, she's bad with money. Maybe this is something you should investigate before you married her, huh? Tammy insisted I give her the child support because she was struggling financially. She insisted I put her first as my wife. I told her to go to hell. My paying child support was non-negotiable. The argument went on for 6 weeks over text, and my wife would not back down. She clearly thought I would eventually give in. I did not. By week 1 or 2 of the argument, I knew I was done with the marriage. Our original plan was I would move back in with her in July 2023, and our marriage would be reconciled. Yeah, sure. The child support argument was the last straw for me. I informed Tammy I would not be moving back in with her and have since found another place to live. Tammy then did an about-face, and she said she was wrong for not supporting me and paying child support, leaving me, etc., etc. She was truly sorry, and could we please work things out? Yeah, she's saying that because her trying to strong-arm you into giving child support, even though you don't have a kid together, didn't work. So now she's done a 180, and she's begging and crying, and can we get back together so she can at least live with you and, deal with those bills, have you pay her bills and all that. Nope, too little, too late. I knew it was all financial. She was shocked, and I was done. And yes, lots of waterworks from her. Duh. Manipulation. By October 2023, I had blocked her completely and was laying low until I could legally file for divorce. I filed for divorce in 2 months, and my attorney assures me I'll be granted divorce within 2 months of filing, and there's nothing she can do about it. I can't wait. Well, good for you, my man. And when I get to the end of the story, we're going to have a talk about your choice in women. We've had no contact at least for 5 months now, and she knows I'm divorcing her. Essentially, she's going back to where I found her, a broke single MOM living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. Why the fuck did you get together with him in the first place? Single MOM, broke, living paycheck to paycheck, probably has credit cards racked up to terrible with money. Why'd you do that? What the hell's the matter with you? Common sense, dude. And getting married for a third time. I mean, I don't feel bad for you for any of this shit, dude. The first marriage, okay. But second, in this? Really? It says here, I have focused on healing and become stronger, healthier. Tom, obviously not my real name. I'm determined to come out of this better, not bitter. I'm 52 years old, God willing, still have a lot of life left to enjoy. Well, you're going to enjoy life a lot more if you stop getting married and get involved with these a-holes. I do miss a woman's companionship and SEX, but I've not dated nor had SEX with anyone, as it will only bring more stress into my life. Good, let's keep it that way until you figure your shit out. It's simply not worth the hassle or the problems of a new woman could bring to my life. Once I'm divorced, in the next few months, I will consider dating. But I will never marry again, nor will I ever be legally bound to a woman ever again. Smack! Not for the last part, for you said that you're immediately going to start dating again after the divorce is final. Why? No, you need to work on yourself. You need to really have some self-reflection as to why you choose the type of gals that you do. Why you feel like you got to get married. Why you rush into these things. And yes, 2 years, in my opinion, is a rush. Really? You got to feel like the strong provider, the manly man to take care of these women? Like in the first email about the female lawyer having a guy's number about men having to provide and all that stuff? Really? What the hell for? Your kids are out of the house. You can date if you can keep, the mindset that it's only going to be dating for hookups. But oh my God. The problem is you said after your second marriage you were going to stick to strictly hookups, and then you met Tammy the Terrible, and look what happened. I don't know if I can trust you not to eventually, after a while, think things will be different and pick the wrong girl. What the hell else did he say here? If a woman wants to be with me, she will have to accept that, or she'll be shown the door. I've seen firsthand the shit show of women who are out there these days, and it's not promising. I actually have a couple women friends who have expressed interest in dating, and I told them no thank you. Yeah, they're just waiting for the divorce to be over with, and they can milk you for what it's worth. Of course, I've done stories of guys writing in telling me how they had great marriages and their wives died early, and she's barely in the ground, and they're already hitting him up, sometimes friends of hers, to get involved with this guy because he has resources and all that. They're shameless. I'm very proud of myself, though. I found myself again, a strong, resilient man who doesn't take any crap. My new motto is, know your worth, protect your peace. I'm kicking ass in my job, exercising, working it regularly, and focused on my future, which is going to be fantastic, by the way. Thank you again for your help to men. Unfortunately, we live in sad times where marriage and relationships are very detrimental to men. Respectfully, Tom. Well, bro, I'm glad you're looking forward to a bright, better future, and you can make it a bright, better future, but your weakness is women. And your weakness, you need to dig deep and figure it out. If you can't figure it out, maybe somebody help you figure it out. But until then, I'd be very careful on the dating scene. And when you actually start dating and hooking up, you better be wearing super protective condoms. And you know what I say? You always wear protection, provide your own protection, and dispose your protection. You don't want one of these bimbos to get pregnant, or at least blame you for it, and go from there. But I'd be avoiding dating and any of that for a while now until you figure things out. You let the dust settle on your divorce and get back on track. I'm glad you're feeling good. I'm glad you're exercising, and you're in your early 50s, so you got plenty of life to go. But you don't need a fourth fucking marriage here. But, I don't feel bad for what happened with Tammy, wife number 3, even wife number 2. You should have learned your lesson after wife number 1. But a lot of guys out there have to learn the hard way, so for God's sakes, you are banned from marriage ever again. If I find out you got married, I'm not gonna come after you. I'm gonna get the legions of guys out there. I got operatives in every state and everywhere in the country, and I'm gonna have them go find you and smack some sense into you. They'll take pictures of smacking you and they'll send it to me, and I'll put it on Instagram. But all jokes aside, bro, take your time, get your shit together. You are, learn your lessons, and you're going to be okay. And as for your exes, cut them all off, block them, never have anything to do with them again. And you said you have kids. I hope they're doing well, and you can pass on the knowledge you've gained, learn the hard way to your kids so they don't make the same mistakes. We all make mistakes, but when you keep making the same mistakes again, you can't feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for the shit you've gone through with wife number 2 and 3, and nobody else here does. But if you learned your lesson after finally, then perhaps it's worth you going through that. I can't imagine all the money you've spent in going in the marriages and the divorces and the alimonies and all that with these women. Oh my God! Think of how much more wealthier you'd be, right? So you can learn from them. I'm glad you're on a higher note, but God Almighty, what you had to go through to learn. But hopefully, other young guys out there will learn from your mistakes. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Wish him well in the future. Make sure he knows don't ever freaking get married again. He shouldn't be in a relationship again. And yeah, you can have fun. Give him hell about marriage number 3. He certainly has earned it. And if you like the video, share with your friends and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.